The room was cold enough to make your teeth knock, and somehow the silence was louder than the machines. Bright lights, a woman on the table, monitors flashing red like tiny sirens. I was in a blue janitor's apron with a mop bucket by my knee, pretending to wipe a floor no one dared to step on. Then somebody dropped a tray metal against tile, sharp as thunder, and that's when it happened. I heard myself say, "Steady," as if I had any right to speak. "You're going to lose her if you do it like that." Heads snapped, scrub caps, masks, the whole wall of credentials turning in one motion. I could read it in their eyes. Who let the help talk? The anesthesiologist's hands were shaking near the ventilator knobs. The chief neurosurgeon, big name, big ego, kept barking orders and then taking them back. The patient was Sloane Holloway. Yes, that. Holloway, wife of Grant Holloway, the developer who practically owns half of Harborview's skyline. Brain mass pressing like a fist. Pressure rising, time shrinking to a pinpoint. "Who are you?" someone demanded. I pulled on gloves I did not have permission to wear. "Lila," I said. "Increase the rate by 2, keep the tidal volume low. End tidal CO2 around 32, not lower. She's too deep, dial your gas down. And for God's sake, phenylephrine in small pushes. Don't drown her brain in fluids." A nurse froze, then moved. The anesthesiologist blinked, looked at the numbers, followed. Within 30 seconds, the monitor calmed down, the red line less angry. The chief stared at the screen like I'd performed a magic trick. He didn't know me. Not really. He'd seen my face before, though at a different angle. I used to push a broom past his office at Harborview Mercy every morning at 4:50 a.m., nodding when he swanned in with a latte at sunrise. "Who told you to touch that?" he asked. "No one," I said. "But if you drill now, you crash her pressure, and this becomes a vigil, not a surgery." He looked at his team. No one argued. Then the OR doors slammed open like a gunshot, and Grant Holloway himself stormed and 2 security guys out of breath behind him. White shirt, cufflinks, tie, crooked face gray with fear. "What is this?" he boomed. "Why is the janitor holding a scalpel?" "Because she fired me last month for being too quiet." I didn't say. "Because I used to clean your kitchen at the Holloway when the agency placed me there for a week, and your wife couldn't stand that I didn't gossip back." "Because people see what they want to see." Grant's eyes locked on mine. I felt the weight of all that money, all that power. Then the chief spoke first. "Mr. Holloway, she stabilized your wife." Something in him deflated. He looked at Sloane. Her face taped and pale under the drapes, and his voice dropped to a whisper that made the whole room lean in. "Do what you have to do. Just save her." The nurse settled a cap over my hair. Gown, shoe covers. Memory slid into my hands like they'd been waiting. I hadn't held a scalpel in 2 years, not since the board suspended my license after my attending falsified a narcotics log and pinned it on me. It never makes the papers when it's a resident's word against a department chair. I fought. I lost. I slept in my car, then in the custodial closet on sublevel B. Then I said yes to a job where the badge says Environmental Services. And nobody asks about your past because they don't care. I didn't plan to lead an operation that night. I planned to mop. But there are moments when the world opens a door, and either you step or you watch someone fall. "Scalpel," I said. We moved like chess, not like panic. Small moves, steady breath. Retractor. Suction, careful not there here. Pressure holding. The chief's hands obeyed my words. The others followed him. In the hum of the lights, I heard the thing I'd missed most, a room trusting the rhythm. An hour passed. 2. Time went syrup slow and needle precise. And then we reached it, the ugly pearl we were there for, feeding on her like a parasite. There's a feel to the moment you know you've turned the tide, and when it passed through the room, everyone knew. We closed. Monitors sang their steady lullaby. I exhaled for the first time since I'd opened my mouth as the janitor. "It's done," I said. The chief sat down like his bones quit him. The scrub nurse laughed and started crying at the same time. Grant didn't try to hide his tears, just pressed his palms to his face and thanked God out loud like he'd been doing it every day of his life. He looked at me, voice breaking. "I told Sloan to be kind to everybody. I told her. And the one she pushed out of our house." He couldn't finish. I knelt because pride wasn't why I was there. "She needed help," I said. "That's the whole job." By morning, Harborview was a rumor mill with a caffeine drip. Janitor lead surgery ping-ponged around the city faster than the truth could catch it. Reporters camped on the sidewalk. Administrators rehearsed talking points about team effort, and people who hadn't looked me in the eye for a year suddenly remembered my name. Sloan woke in recovery, head-wrapped, eyes wet. Her first words weren't elegant. Just, Am I okay?" "You are," I said. She focused, really looked at me, and I watched shame walk across her face like a storm. "You, from the house and the hallways," I said softly. She took my hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I was scared of everything I couldn't control. I made you pay for it." I nodded. "You're here. That's what matters." That afternoon, in a tiny family conference room that smelled like old coffee, Grant asked me to tell him everything. So I did. About Boston. About the chair who lost meds and found a scapegoat. About the hearing where my lawyer looked like he'd rather be eating his tie. About my mother's funeral on a Tuesday because I couldn't afford the Saturday rate. About the kind nurse who slid a pillow into the closet without a word. About why I still wander the ICU on my breaks listening to machines like they're old friends. Grant listened all the way through, no interruptions, no theatrics, then pushed his phone across the table. "Call the best attorney you know," he said. "If they're not the best, I'll make them the best." We went back to the board. This time with paper emails, timestamps, a whistleblower nurse who finally decided she'd had enough rot in her soul. We played a grainy clip where a pharmacist flagged a mismatch the same day my attending signed off on a shift he never worked. I watched a panel of tight faces loosen one by one like someone cut a string, pulling their mouths down. It wasn't dramatic. No gavel. Just doctor. Brooks, the suspension is vacated, and a pen scratching a line that had been branding my name for 24 months. Outside, microphones popped like grease. "How does it feel?" someone shouted. "Like breathing after holding it too long," I said, and it was so simple it almost sounded fake, except it wasn't. Grant wasn't done. "You know what Harborview needs," he said later, staring out his penthouse window at a river as gray as steel. "A place people trust because it treats janitors and CEOs like they both have hearts." He wrote a check the size of a building and then built the building, the Open Hand Center, 6 floors of clinics and ORs with a free care wing that would make accountants sweat. He asked me to run it. I said yes with my whole body. The same board members who rolled their eyes when I pushed my mop now made speeches about community partnership. I wasn't interested in their amends. I wanted a residency pipeline that took kids from the east side and handed them lab coats, not pity. I wanted a cafeteria table where a housekeeper and a surgeon could fight over the last lemon bar, and neither one had to apologize for being hungry. At the opening, Sloan stood next to me in a headscarf, beautiful in a way fear can't touch. "You saved my life," she said into the microphone, voice clear. "And you saved my heart from rotting. I'm going to spend the rest of it trying to deserve that." People clapped, the loud kind of clap, the kind that rattles your ribs. Was it all happy from there? You know better. Power never steps aside politely. The old hospital's PR consultant started leaking stories about reckless heroics and whispering that janitors shouldn't play doctor, as if I hadn't been one long before I set foot in their hallway. Anonymous complaints found their way to inspectors. Our oxygen delivery got misplaced twice. Lawyers sent letters with language meant to scare a person back into a closet. I didn't hide. I built. I hired nurses who see families, not charts. I brought in Dr. Mateo Cruz, a quiet genius from New Mexico who can clip an aneurysm like he's tying a bow. And he taught our interns that steady hands start with a steady mind. We wrote a protocol named after the custodian who found a patient slumped in a bathroom and wouldn't stop pounding on doors till someone listened. We put his photo in the staff entrance where everyone had to see him when they clocked in. One night after rounds, Mateo and I sat on the roof. Harbor view sewed in lights below us, river, breathing slow, and he said, "You know, if you wrote this as a movie, no one would buy it." Too on the nose, I laughed. "Yeah," I said, "but real life doesn't have to be believable. It just has to be survived." He turned to me. "More than survived." "Okay," I said. "More than survived." People ask if I forgive the ones who did it. The chair, the board, the house that taught me what a closed door feels like. I tell them forgiveness isn't a trophy you hand out. It's a muscle. You work it, or it withers. Some days mine lifts the weight, some days it shakes. Both are honest. So that's my story. The one where a janitor became a surgeon again in front of the only people who thought she couldn't. The one where a billionaire learned money can't buy you a steady hand. The one where a woman walked back into a room she'd been pushed out of and said, "Move." And they did. But here's where I want you to talk back to me, because this part always starts a fight in the comments. Was I right to step in that night gloves on without permission, or did the ends not justify the means? If Sloan had been anyone other than a Holloway, would they have heard me at all? How many Lila types are mopping floors in your city right now because someone with a title needed a scapegoat? Drop your city. Tell me what you've seen in hospitals, schools, offices, those moments when a person's uniform said invisible, but their work said essential. If this hits something in you, if you've ever been underestimated, or if you've ever misjudged someone because of their job, like this video, share it with the loud folks and subscribe. Let's argue about justice in the comments. Tell me what you think is right. Tell me what you've lived. I'll be there reading every word.